Hey guys, this is Akbar Somley here, and I am with,
I'm Jesse Hughes.
and today we're going to be learning about media literacy and some stuff about Jesse and how he deals with media and what he's been with and how media involves with us. So, what's some thoughts you think about, just the media in general? Like, what has caused you to work with the media? What influenced you?
For me, when I was a kid, I always loved movies, right? I'm very, very, very blessed with a very active imagination, right? I think one of the ideas of like storytelling, it's one of the oldest things that humanity has ever done. Back in the day before books were even written, or we had a written language, stories about who humans were and what happened, we'll say in a family's past, they were all passed down orally. A couple thousand years later, now we have the opportunity to tell really interesting stories about humanity as a whole, right? So the interesting thing to me about media is you can contextualize a story about how the writer, how the actor, how the director sees a piece of humanity and how they tell their story, or different ways they use to tell the story.
Yeah, media is a great way to be very creative in your own ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, another question I have is, what type of movies do you prefer? Like when it's based off action, romance, all that. What's
Yeah.
your genre?
I'll say my favorite to watch are horror movies. There's something exciting about being scared, but then also knowing you're safe, right? I'm also kind of particular to rom-coms because, yeah, no, I know it's cheesy, but rom-coms are this idea of, like everyone's searching for love, they're searching for purpose, they're searching for um, someone to connect with, right? And rom-coms are this kind of interesting and really dumb way to see how people find someone else. So yeah, I would say those two probably.
So, if you could pick any type of movie to make,
Yeah.
in your own opinion, and you based it all around, what are you gonna aim for? Would you aim for a rom com, or would you aim for a horror film, like you said?
Um, I so for me particularly, I wouldn't specifically say I would aim for a genre. I just try to find stories that speak to me, right? Like I'm a writer, and I can write if I have a story idea, I can write it no problem. You know what I mean? I think one of the fun projects that I would love to put together would be just like a really dark, really slow burn kind of horror movie, because then if I get to watch it with other people and see them be terrified, there's something fun about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always funny to see someone scared.
Yeah.
It's great to see someone get really scared.
But then also, I mean, like comedies, you know what I mean? I love comedies. I love a good comedy, not just like fart jokes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But something with layers. I'm really interested in writing some really strong comedies just to kind of, entertain people and hopefully make them feel better about whatever's going on.
What's some benefits you see from being in the media industry and the filmmaking industry? Like, what's some benefits you see from that, and like what's some hazards that people should stay away from?
So benefits. One of the big benefits for me is you just get to talk to people, right? So, like for instance, you and I are boys.
Yeah.
We're sitting here talking about media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You and I could do an hour-long podcast simply about how certain movies have affected us. You know what I mean? There's something interesting about media and entertainment. No, there's something really interesting about media and entertainment because it's all about talking to people, right? Podcasting, like you had mentioned, this class is about podcasting. Podcasts have taken off because literally it's two people just having a conversation, whether or not they're factual, whether or not they matter to anybody. The conversation means something to somebody. You know what I mean? You can learn from it, or you can find something to hate and like fuel your anger with. It's media is really interesting because you can touch so many different people at the same time while just having a conversation. Hazards, I would say one of the biggest hazards with media in general is kind of falling in love with yourself too much, right? I've met a lot of people, there's like a lot of celebrities who, man, they love the sound of their own voice. And when you become that person, you lose the ability to hear what others are saying. If you have 20 people telling you that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, you don't get to look around at all the other loaves around you and say, wow, you guys are pretty good bread too. You know what I mean?
I love the example you just used there for bread.
I'm a writer. I'm pretty romantic with words. So.
So just like the hazards, what would be some big risks making this your career? Like, would it be financial status, or what would be some big risks?
Well, so when you're talking about media, are you talking like, so I'm movies.
Yes.
Right? I want to make movies. I love making movies. If you're talking behind the camera,
Yes, behind the camera.
unless you're a big name director or a big name director of photography, you're going to be poor for the majority of your life. You're constantly going to be trying to get more money to make the next project. It's always a struggle. You know what I mean? That sucks, but it's also fun because when you get the money to make your movie and you get to go on set on this project that you love, there's no better feeling. You know what I mean? If you're talking about actors, like in front of the camera, if you make it, your life is good, right? You're a celebrity, everyone loves you, you have your market or your audience and your fans, but you lose your personal life. You know what I mean? Like, if you make it, you now become, I don't want to say a property, but you know, you're gonna have, if you have millions of people trying to learn more about you, they're gonna find every skeleton you've ever had in every closet you've ever been to. So it's this weird trade-off, especially nowadays with the access that you have to anybody. You know,
Just
what I
like
mean?
TikTok, YouTube, all those
Yeah.
those platforms really can help everyone skyrocket the way they want.
I mean, yeah, but you have kids. You know, you have kids on Twitter who they'll make a viral TikTok, and then half of Twitter finds out that they said something 20 years ago that today isn't considered like correct, and then a kid's life is ruined. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So there are pros and cons to everything. It's just like any other business. The big thing with the media industry in general is you're making it for the public consumption, which means the public is then going to be more involved in your life. So if you're not willing to accept that inherent kind of thing, this is not the industry for you.
Yeah. What would be some advice that you'd give to someone such as me or someone who's watching right now
Mhm.
about if they want to get into the media industry, or what would be some advice?
I have two. I would offer two pieces of advice. The first piece of advice would be just be yourself. Inherently, whenever you get in this industry, your job and what you actually want to accomplish is to create a fan base, right? You want people to enjoy the work that you're doing. Well, if you're going to be spending a bunch of time, like 12, 14-hour days on set, you want to be working on a project that you actually enjoy, that you actually have some passion about or you connect to, right? The only way you can do that is by knowing who you are, being yourself to the public, and then, bringing in the people who you connect with. Piece of advice number two, and this is kind of, I guess it's like a grandiose thing, but like, just do it. I've met so many people through film school and acting, performing arts school and everything, and the number one thing that stops them is themselves. Like, I get a ton of people who are like, oh man, you write screenplays? That's awesome. How do I do it? I'm like, dude, just grab a pencil piece of paper and start writing.
Just use your creation, your imagination,
Well,
everything.
but the thing too though is that so many people they'll say, "Oh, well, I don't know how to write a screenplay or I don't know how to write a story," because they have this grandiose idea of what these things are. I know so many directors that are like, "Oh, well, man, if I had the right piece of equipment or if I had this camera, then I would make this film." Dude, just grab a camera and go shoot it. It doesn't have to, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, you're not making the Avengers. If you can't afford to make the Avengers, don't try to make the Avengers. Find your story that you can tell at your budget with your experience level, and then just go make it. You know what I mean? Don't get hampered down by details that don't affect anything.
Yeah. Back to what you said earlier on your advice number 2 with, getting your friends or people that you know involved. What would be your number 1 key for that? Like, what category should they include their friends in with? Should it be production? Should it be the filmmaking? Or should it be the acting? What would you think it would be best for them to do it?
I would say any of it. You know what I mean? So hypothetically, I am a director.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have a script that I want to make.
Cornhole.
Well, I wasn't trying to bring it up, but well, no, but like, okay, so we'll use cornhole for example, right? So I'm really trying to get this movie off the ground.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to raise the $1.52 million that I have in my head and how I can spend that money. What's more feasible right now is like, okay, if I get 150,000 to 300,000, I can tell a story that can connect to the audience. I can tell a story that I will enjoy working on, right? Well, with that low of a budget, that means that I have to bring in people who maybe don't have the most experience. So really what that means is I have to do more work, right? So this project, normally I wouldn't want to direct it, right? Because I don't want to be a director. I can direct, it's just not my passion. But to get this movie off the grounds, if I have to direct it, I'll step in and I'll get it done. You know what I mean? Having your friends who are actually passionate about what they want to try to do is the important part, right? Find people who are willing to do the work and who are actually interested in the position that they're trying to learn. Then, even though you're not going to be able to pay them as much at the start, at least you got somebody that's willing to put in the effort for you and just get the job done.
Yeah, that is all very reasonable, and so filmmaking school, do you recommend it to people, or just you think should they wing it and just learn from other people?
It depends on what you want out of it, right? So I was in the military first. I went to film school because the government paid for it, so it was no cost to me. I went to film school at 28 years old, so I was already behind the curve on a whole bunch of things, right? So film school made sense for me because I got a crash course on how to be on set, how to make films, like the nuts and bolts, right? And it's fantastic. At your age, like if you told me that you wanted to be a filmmaker, I would just say like grab your iPhone and go write a short about 2 people talking at a diner or at a table, right? Go shoot it. Go try it out. And the thing you'll find out is with every single film, no matter the length, no matter the context, no matter the story, you learn something from it every single time, right? So if you're young, I would say nowadays you don't need film school, right? Like you're going to get more experience on your film set and learn more from the mistakes that you make and the triumphs that you have than you will from a film school. But like film school is good. You know what I mean? It's good to have a solid foundation from professionals, but it's not necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in the day when film school was important, you had to learn the craft of filmmaking. Cinematographers had to learn how to shoot on 35, 16 millimeter film. They had to know the numbers that had to be hammered into them. Nowadays, I mean, your iPhone, you could shoot an entire movie
Yeah.
that is high quality with a little bit of tweaks, and you'd have to learn some things before you got into something big. But it's all about experience, having honest conversations with yourself about what went right, what went wrong, and then moving on to the next one.
Yeah. So, with film school, what was the biggest thing you picked up from there? Like, about the writing, and what's your just thoughts overall on it?
The thing that I learned about film school the most was how to work with other people. So okay, so in the military, obviously, I know how to work with people. You have a job to do. You have to get people ready, get them trained. They go do their job. Film school is a different beast because with film school, everyone has these really creative and really interesting ideas, but you're not going to be able to, like, you have to be able to filter all of that information, decide what does work, what doesn't work, and then proceed with what's going to work, right? Well, with film school, what I learned is there are so many people who fall into the like, we filmed so many shorts that were like, a guy kills a girl and then the detective comes in and tries to find, you know what I mean? All the same, like, kind of dorky film, short film tropes that, like, first time filmmakers make. You kind of learn very fast in film school if you're paying attention that, yeah, these don't work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say the amount of collaboration that actually happens on a set was the biggest takeaway that I had.
So now that we're nearing to the end, we're gonna wrap it up by asking one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Explain everything about yourself and all that. Just how you got into this. Like you said, it was your passion from when you were a kid. You loved watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
But explain what really pushed you to get into this, and like just your thoughts behind all of it, and what some creations you have coming along, and what future plans you have prepared for everyone to see.
Yeah, I would say, okay, so to answer the first half of your question, passion. You know, when I was in the military, I loved being in the military, right? It made me, in so many ways, the man I am today. But I just, eventually I lost my love for it. I got to the point where I was waking up every morning and I was dreading going to work, right? So then I was at the point where, like, okay, what do I want to do now with my life? I've given, at that point, 6 years of my life to the government, to the military. I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go chase something that I've always wanted to do. So I just moved out to LA, and I was out there for 7 years, learning and chasing the dream, right?
Yeah.
As far as projects, I mean, I've worked on a ton of short films. When I was in LA, I worked on a whole bunch of different things. Everything from, like, toy commercials for these dumb little, like, axes that you throw and they stick to a wall, which was a fun.
I used to have one of those.
Dude, it's a fun set, but, like, God, it's so boring. You know what I mean? Like, from that, I worked on, like, Ancient Aliens.
No, I don't think I do. They're like, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I worked on Ancient Aliens for a year, off and on. That was some of the craziest stuff I have ever heard in my life. And it's just these dudes who were talking about, like, how aliens are our ancient forefathers that created the planet or something. I don't know. It was crazy. All the way up to, like, full-on feature films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, most of what I worked on were, like, independent films, because that's what I always loved, the idea of independent films, small productions with, like, a small group of people just busting their hump to get the movie made. That's more exciting to me than working in, like, the Hollywood system where they have, like, $300 million to shoot, a rom-com.
Yeah.
So, for me, I always took projects to learn on how to do the things that I was passionate about, which is to make my own movies. My first feature film, which is like this little $12,000 drama called Pieces We Leave Behind,
It was actually pretty good for $12,000.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, and again, it was like, it's a learning experience. You know what I mean? It just released in August, like end of August, on Amazon, and I've learned so many things. From production, post production, and then now releasing it and hearing people's opinions and their honest notes, their honest thoughts. It's been awesome. And then we were talking about cornhole. I'm working on now. My focus is I want to bring filmmaking on the indie side here to Indiana, very specifically here to Bedford. I mean, this is my hometown. I love Bedford, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is the perfect place to get good production. The biggest thing is, once I start finding the investors and the funding aspects to start getting the process rolling, then we can start kind of building the snowman and making it all look good, So that, and then I have, my God, I have a script in almost every genre. I'm working on a horror film now because I really want to make it, because I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, you're always writing.
I have no social life, so all I do is write. He's not lying.
All right. Now that we wrapped it up with getting to know a little bit more about Jesse, thank you, Jesse, for coming on and letting me interview you. It was a great pleasure.
Hey, you too, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
This is Zach. Deuces.
Deuces.